Today is May 5th, 2015. What is your full name?
My full name is Rose Merlane Bowman. That's my name before I was married. Carpenter. But I go by Mikki because Mother always called me Merlane, but a lot of people couldn't remember it, and they said, what kind of name is that? And so Mikki, M-I-K-K-I, not Mickey Mouse. So that's what most people know me. From high school on, I was Mikki. Okay?
When and where were you born?
I was born in Seattle, Washington, February 25th, 1923.
What were you doing before the war?
Before the war, well, let's see. Oh, I got out of high school. My parents didn't believe in girls going to college because they said all they're going to do is get married and have children. So I joined the Navy. I thought maybe I would have 4 years of education after I got out of the Navy. But also, I was working at Boeing aircraft. I was key punching. And then I worked on the machines, the cards that they have, for breaking codes. And so then I was making a lot of money, and I started having a guilty conscience because there were so many fellas that were dying, and, in the war. And here I was sitting back making money, and I thought that was unconscionable. So I decided to go in the Navy. And I talked to a couple of fellas that were at Boeing's, and they said, oh, you shouldn't go in the Navy. Those girls aren't very nice. And once you go into the Navy, no man will want you, which was so ridiculous because when I went in, I never met so many nice girls in all my life. So I was okay.
So before you entered the services, where were you when you found out about Pearl Harbor?
I was in Seattle. I was in Seattle until I was 21.
And what was your reaction?
I was horrified. And they were afraid that a lot of Japanese would come on the Pacific coast. And so we had blackout curtains. Everybody, after dark, I guess you couldn't even drive anywhere because you had to be, you couldn't, we didn't have any lights, so we had to, couldn't.
Did you have any family members who served in the military?
My father was in World War I, and so he was very proud of the fact that I wanted to go in the Navy in World War II. And he tried to go in the Navy when World War II came along, but he was a little old, so they wouldn't let him. But he put a lot of radios together. So he would get a couple of hundred at one time, and he'd put them all together for the fellows that were in the service. So that gave him something to do.
Did you have any family members who served during World War II?
No, I just had one sister. I didn't have any brothers. I didn't have any cousins.
What are your memories about rationing?
Well, we couldn't, mainly I couldn't buy nylon stockings, and we had the kind that had the line up the back. And we couldn't have coffee, and but Mother didn't tell us too much about things like that. She didn't want us to be upset. So when I got in the Navy, there was no rationing. We could have anything we wanted.
Did you participate in scrap drives?
Yeah, I think so. Mother was very good about things like that. So I guess I saved her. My goodness, she saved everything. we had string, and she would make a ball of string, and we had called tin foil at the time. We had a ball of tin foil. She saved everything.
How about what about war bond rallies?
Well, I bought war bonds, yeah.
What are your? Did you participate in any of the rallies?
No, I didn't. Mm-hmm.
Did your family or anyone you knew plant a victory garden?
No, I don't think so. I can't remember now. That's a long time ago. But I don't think Mother did, no. So.
Did you or anyone you know work in the defense industry?
Well, Boeing was defense, and I worked there. My mother worked there also. She hadn't worked since we were born, but when the war came on, she got a job with Boeing's. Mm-hmm.
And what did you both do for Boeing?
Well, as I said, I worked in key punch, and then I also worked in the machines that after you key punch, they have the machines that sort it out and different things like that. Mother worked on the floor in the big, what do you call them, where they're building the planes. And so I worked where I didn't even see the planes. So after working in key punch and the machines for a long time, I transferred to where I could see the planes being built. And that was a much more interesting than working in personnel. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any special memories about celebrating holidays during the war?
No, I really don't. I'm sorry about that. I don't remember any holidays. Oh, during the war?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. Well, I was in the Navy when when World War II ended, and also when the German side, and also when the Japanese side. And I happened to be, let's see, I guess the German side, I can't remember now whether it was the German side or the French or the, oh dear, you're going to have to delete a lot of this out, the Japanese. When, let me think, when the Japanese war ended, no, it was the German. When the German war ended, we were up in New York City, and we were staying in what used to be a mansion, and they charged us 50 cents a night to stay all night there. And so we didn't know anything about it, but then all of a sudden we saw all this graphic graffiti coming down from the sky, and so then we went up to Times Square and got in there, which was exciting. But now for the Japanese war, a friend of mine and I had worked all night, and then we went to Ocean City up in New Jersey, and we thought something was going on, and we were going to just rent a place and then go to sleep for a couple of hours. But it was so exciting because people were going down the streets, and everybody was screaming and yelling, and that was because the war was ending. And I can't remember exactly the date for that, but a sailor came by and he tried to kiss me, and I wouldn't let him kiss me. I thought that was crazy. So anyhow, those are the two memories that I have of both wars when they ended.
Did you enlist or were you drafted?
Oh, no, they didn't draft girls then, yeah. No, I was very happy to go in.
Could you tell me why you wanted to join?
Well, I wanted to join because, as I said, I was making all this money, and all these fellows were dying, and I was making money. And I felt that was a terrible thing to be doing, so I decided to quit my job and go in the Navy. So girls from Portland and girls from Seattle all rode in one car, train car, back to New York City. And that was a lot of fun too.
Did your family support you enlisting? I remember what you said about your dad, but...
My dad was very happy. My mother was horrified. She thought I was going to get killed, I guess. I don't know.
What was your branch of service?
U.S. Navy. Waves.
When did you enter service?
August 15th, 1944.
And where did you enter?
In Seattle I signed up for it, and then we all had to go back to, on the train, back to New York City and go to boot camp. And boot camp was a lot of fun too.
Could you tell me about it?
Well, we had to march everywhere we went, and we had to sing songs when we were doing it. And then we had an inspection one time, and I had to clean the head, is what they called it, the women's bathroom. And I had never done that before, and I was almost ready to get out of the Navy. But I survived. I survived. So, and I really liked the Navy. And in boot camp, I was supposed to have duty at 8 o'clock Sunday morning. So I went to church at 7 o'clock, and I was 5 minutes late, and they were ready to court-martial me. And I said, well, my God is a lot more important than the Navy. And so then they understood, and they said, well, just don't do it again. But I didn't know that was so important to be 5 minutes late, you know.
What was the hardest part about boot camp?
Probably cleaning the bathroom. Everything else was fine. I enjoyed boot camp a lot.
Do you remember your instructors?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Could you describe the people that you trained with?
Well, they were all really nice girls. A couple of fellas had told me, you know, that boys wouldn't like me if I went into the Navy because I would be associated with too many bad girls. But I never found a bad girl. All the girls were really, really nice, and I had made a lot of friends.
What was your job or assignment?
Well, I went into key punch in the Navy, and then my roommate and I went into the mechanics, the sorters and the other machines that sent these cards along so they could put them on a tabulator. And it took a long time for the tabulator. And then when I was, after I was out of the Navy, and much, much later than that, I found out the tabulator could do it in 1 minute, whereas it would take about a half an hour to do it when we were in the Navy. Everything had advanced so much, so, which is probably not very interesting, but it was.
Could you describe what it was like day to day in the Navy?
Well, we had shifts. We worked from 8 to 4 for a week, and then we worked from 4 to 8, and then we worked from 4 to 12 midnight, rather. And then we worked from midnight until 8 o'clock in the morning. But the midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning was very hard because you'd get so sleepy. And they would send you sandwiches over, you know, about 5 o'clock in the morning. And up till this day, I can't eat a ham sandwich because we had ham so much.
So what would you do each day?
Well, so I lived at Wave Quarters K, I think it was, or D. It was the largest wave quarters in the United States, and that was in Washington, D.C. And every day, I worked for 8 hours, and we did other things. On weekends, we would go into D.C. and visit all the different places And that was so interesting to be able to see DC.
Did you receive any special training?
No, because I already trained for the key punching, so I didn't need any special training. I wanted to be a corpsman, but they said, well, because you've had experience with IBM machines, they wanted me to do IBM. But I wanted to be a corpsman and take care of the sick, but I never got to do that.
What is key punching?
Well, key punching is you have IBM cards. At the time that I was at Boeing's, we had IBM and we had Remington Rand, but then they settled on IBM cards. And they're cards that are punched, and they're all numbered in groups of 5. And that way, when they go through all these other machines and through the last one, when I just named that, and now I've forgotten, that starts with a T. Tabulator. I don't know how much I should tell you about this, because all of this was secret during the war. And then I worked at NSA after the war, after my children had grown up a little bit. And all of that was stuff you weren't supposed to talk about. So, but everybody's talking about it. So.
Well, I don't want you to give away any confidential information.
I don't think I would. No.
But how did you break codes?
Well, I didn't actually break them. I made the means to break them. And then